Hey guys, Garrett with Tactical Repair here again. Today I'm going to show you how to remove the hydraulic head on the truck. I know I've shown you before on a parts pump I had, but I thought it'd be good to show you how to do it while it's actually in the truck. And we're doing this today to replace the O-ring set in it. This hydraulic head has never been off, and the diesel that we run these days tends to eat up the old rubber. These are Viton O-rings, so once they're replaced you really won't have to worry about them again. The tools you're going to need are, starting from right to left, you'll need a 9/16 wrench for the upper injector line nuts. You'll need a 5/8 wrench, and I've got two of them here because usually one or the other works better for me in some situations, just where they fit. You'll need the 5/8 for your fuel line nuts. You got a 7/16 wrench, and you're going to need that for the return fuel line and the injector line retainer nuts and bolts, which are spaced evenly throughout. This one doesn't have a bunch of them. Usually you've got these little bastards everywhere. You're also going to need the 7/16 wrench for the nuts on top of this access cover down here on the advance assembly. You'll need an 11/16. I like a flare nut wrench in case these injector line nuts are really tight. Helps you to break them loose without rounding them off. And once you do break them loose, you'll need an open end. Then you'll need a flathead screwdriver for the flathead screws that hold your shutoff cover on. You'll need a 3/8 ratchet and a 1/2 inch deep or semi-deep thin wall socket, chrome socket. You can't fit a black impact socket on where you need to get it because they're too thick, and that's these hydraulic head hold down nuts. There's 4 of them, 2 in the front, 2 in the back in the same places. And then you'll need a 1/4 inch ratchet and a 7/16 socket to go along with the wrench to take your injector line holders off. You will need safety wire pliers, preferably. You don't have to use them, but it makes it a whole lot easier when you're putting things back together to get the safety wire done. And then of course you'll need safety wire. This is available from Harbor Freight. I think it's like 80 cents for a roll of it like this. It's called mechanics wire. They also have a 1-pound roll of safety wire that is stainless, and it's 041, but it's too large. It won't fit through the screws on the bridge plate, and I'll show you that later. Well, you won't need these unless you smoke, so that's for me. Anyway, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and remove all my fuel lines and injector lines, and then I'll get back with you and show you where we're going from there. So hang with me and I'll be right back. Alright guys, we're back. So I've got all the injector lines off. I've got all my plastic fuel lines off. I went ahead and removed the shutoff cover, and I went ahead and removed my advance window cover. Now, the reason we need that off is you look down in there, you see that metal wheel? There's a mark on that that we're going to need to be able to see. Now, it doesn't have to line up with a pointer or anything, but you do need to see the mark to make sure you're on the right stroke of the engine when you remove this head. Otherwise it'll be 180 out, and you don't want that. So the next thing we do now is, if you look right down here, see that tiny little clip? That's got to come off. And getting that off is usually not a big deal if you've got a pair of micro needle nose. Let's see if I can do this looking at the camera instead of... You want to be super careful not to drop this damn thing, because you'll never find it. And usually I've got 2 hands, and I'll rotate this down to the bottom, and it's easier to pull it off that way. And I dropped it, but it hit my drip pan, so I know where it is. That's fine. Okay, we've got that off. Now, the reason for that is this governor rod has to be able to come out. And we're not worried about that right now. You don't pull that, you don't push that out through right now. It'll come off in just a second here and I'll show you. So, the next thing we got to do is we got to cut this safety wire. And I'm going to do that by simply grabbing it with the safety wire pliers, and we're just going to break it because we don't need to save it. When you do that, take your flathead screwdriver, and you'll notice there's oil here. This bottom cavity is always has engine oil in it, and behind this and above this part of the housing is fuel. There's an O-ring behind this, and there's an O-ring on the bottom of the housing down around this area, and you'll see that in a moment. So when these O-rings start to go bad, they start leaking fuel into your engine oil, and it can eat your bearings up pretty quickly. Rings too, I suppose. So we're going to remove this. And it shouldn't be super tight. If it is tight, or real tight, then there's a good chance the lever's not moving anyway. So and I've got a small magnetic tray that I use just for these pieces alone. All the little tiny small parts right here that you're working with that you can't afford to lose. Okay, here we go. Now you're going to see some fuel come out, more than likely. Yep. And you need to look and make sure that that little tit is on the end. If it's not, it means it stayed in there, and you're going to have to retrieve it. So, you see this O-ring here? That's one of the ones we're replacing. So, usually that comes off with the shaft, but this is old and hard and it was stuck to it, so that definitely needed replaced. Alright, so now that you've got that off, you can see this gear down here. And this gear helps if you can, sometimes you can get this to move back and stay out of the way. Not always. Of course, this one doesn't want to. There should be a scored tooth on that gear. Sometimes it's painted red too. And that, you've got to pretty much line up with that pointer, but you're going to want to have it a half a tooth in front of the pointer. So let me get that lined up, and I'll show you what it looks like.